And welcome back to Fresh Outlook. I'm TWB. Well, along with unemployment, another topic that's been at the forefront of the current presidential election is job outsourcing. It essentially means sending work somewhere else. And in the last 4 years alone, 1.2 million American jobs have gone overseas. Take a look.
The United States is battling unemployment at rates higher than we've seen in years. But where exactly are the jobs going? Outsourcing by U.S. companies is nothing new, but add in a weak economy and more jobs than ever are being sent overseas. The United States has lost an average of 50,000 manufacturing jobs per month since 2001.
What we'd like is a miracle. We'd like Mitt Romney to come to Freeport, see what this is doing to this community, contact his friends at Run Bain Capital and say, this is absolutely the wrong thing to do, and to save our jobs. We would love that miracle.
But in some cases, it's not just the jobs, but the workers who are leaving too. It's a phenomenon called reverse brain drain. Tighter prospects and tougher immigration laws are sending thousands of foreign entrepreneurs away to seek opportunity outside the U.S.
Out of the workforce.
Today, it seems the country is losing jobs and talent, and looking for the winner of the election to do something about it.
That gets America 12 million new jobs in 4.
All right, just taking a drink.
You see?
Waiting for the last minute. I have a minute to drink. I wait for the last 2 seconds. Just keeping it fun. All right, so let's get the conversation going once again, guys. Get our reaction to job outsourcing. I always like to start off with a couple of stats to set the tone. First off, the number one reason companies outsource is, we all know, to reduce cost. In most situations, companies can find cheaper labor abroad, and the quality level is the same. So if you've got a big corporation, it seems like a no-brainer. What kind of jobs are being outsourced? According to the Department of Labor, computer programmers, pharmacy technicians, telephone operators, billing and postal clerks, computer operators. Couple numbers for you. The United States has lost an average of 50,000 manufacturing jobs per month since China joined the WTO back in 2001. Also, I thought this was interesting. U.S. multinational corporations added almost 2.5 million new jobs overseas during the first decade of this century. During that time frame, they also cut almost 3 million jobs inside the U.S. And those numbers hurt me to the core as a proud American.
That's right.
How do you feel, James?
Well, it's tough. I mean, you saw in the clip the Bainport, the whole Sensata situation, which is a really important one for us to take a look at, where you have Bain Capital owns a company, workers there make about $17 an hour. They outsource those jobs. It's only 170 jobs, but it's indicative of the whole system. Outsource the jobs to China. They pay the workers in China $1 an hour for the same kind of labor. So obviously it's a cost efficiency question, but we have to start to think about, what about the dignity of the American worker? Right?
I don't think anyone cares about it anymore.
We need to care about it. Bain Capital can afford to pay that $17 an hour. And WJ and I were just talking about this. You know, outsourcing has come in waves. That first wave, which is the 70s and 80s, was really about outsourcing a lot of manufacturing jobs, a lot of blue-collar jobs. Now we're outsourcing those, but also outsourcing so-called white-collar jobs. The ones the service jobs. We've got to have more value for the American worker here in the United States.
Okay, we'll get to solutions, but Francesca, what were you going to say?
I mean, I'm saying we're sort of continuing to shoot ourselves in the foot. The collective we, if we're talking about the middle class and, you know, sort of normal folk, regular folk or whatever, and not the Bain Capital Romneys of the world or the uber wealthy Koch brothers or whomever it may be, those folks, yeah, exactly, whatever. No, you know, but hey, trust me, there's a lot of misinformation out there about that too. But as far as the outsourcing is concerned, I think that capitalism is really more of what we are as a country than a democracy, and we go after money and profit and the opportunity to make that money and profit. And when we have that opportunity, as Mitt Romney or Ryan will tell you, that's what they are selling to voters, the opportunity to make that money in whichever way, and that you could be a successful entrepreneur if you were able to, you know, configure some kind of a company that included outsourcing, where you could save costs and that you could benefit.
And that's poppycock.
That's
poppycock.
But unfortunately, how few of us are entrepreneurs, and how many of us are from families or ourselves might be working on those assembly lines as a college job or as a full-time job to make those incomes. But here's the real problem. we are the beneficiaries of all of these low-priced goods coming from China.
Right.
I defy
Walmart.
any of you to produce an electronic device or an
anything.
article of clothing right here, and you show me it doesn't come from a third world
Can you imagine if we did that for a day?
China.
I mean, like what you said, you know, take off anything that's not American-made. How? I don't think we could
it's
go
impossible.
outside. We'd be naked.
America, as an on-demand consumer society, we have seen just how much that has done damage to us, whether it's food production and fast foods and the obesity rates and all of the health consequences that go along with that, including high health costs and insurance costs, which then spiral into a whole healthcare debate, or whether it's something that is as simple as, well, we want to have different clothes to wear each week or each season or whatever, and therefore it's easier to buy them from Malaysia or from India or from wherever else. Where we used to have more pride and quality, it's a difference in mindset. We have been marketed to such an extent that the consumer on demand, I want this and I want it now and I want my range of options. It has been sold to us as a basic freedom, a basic right, as an American choice. We want the freedom of choice to pick our health care. We want the freedom of choice to pick our clothing. We want the freedom of choice to pick our iPhone. The thing is that we cannot reasonably actually create manufacturing facilities like Foxconn in China to make Apple iPhones the way that they have them there, regardless of whatever the working conditions are and the workers' revolt and the suicides and all of the things that we know happen. We cannot create those conditions. Would we want to create those conditions? The question is, what kind of jobs can be made here in the United States that would be the kinds of jobs that would A, be able to sustain a family, B, be able to attract and retain a new kind of worker.
So you've really, given up on the American competition in the electronics altogether.
Absolutely
You've
not.
completely given up on
No.
that.
I said that Apple factory because I'm saying you can't create that factory and that demand here.
But a couple things. One, Sensata is one of those factories we could have kept here. Bain Capital made $400 million in the quarter. They could afford to pay those workers $17 an hour. They polled Apple consumers. American Apple consumers would pay more for their little Apple trinkets if they knew they were made in America. So there are things that we can do. So we cannot concede manufacturing because it doesn't make sense.
So what's the
and
solution?
we need it for what Francesca's talking about, which is the green economy. We need American manufacturing for wind energy, for solar energy, for the things that we have to do to make progress in society. But I also think that we need a radical reordering of our consumer priorities. I don't want to be buying things that are made in factories where women and children are being oppressed.
So will you send your iPhone back? Will you send your Samsung item back? Would we do it?
I would like to have the option to purchase something that's not made in that way.
So what about a consumer revolt? What about a consumer revolt on these products? Why don't we stop buying them all together?
Or again, to me, for big issues like this is where you need the federal government to step in. There needs to be incentives for corporations to build things here. There need to be tax breaks for corporations to build things here.
Let's talk about what the candidates think. I mean, obviously, we know what Obama says. He wants to tax companies that go outside and reduce tax rates, you know, give them incentives for those who stay here. I can't figure out what the heck Romney is saying. Every week it's different. I mean, he's the outsourcing pioneer.
It doesn't matter what anybody says.
I mean,
it's what
how
they
can he
do
run for
and what they've done and what he has done and what he is doing.
He's going to make $400,000 in a tax break off of that Sensata debacle. You know, which is again. Well, listen, and this is we can also be nonpartisan about this. You know, we need to think about America's future, and in that thought process, we've got to continue to bring manufacturing back. We've got to move the economy forward. Those are the solutions. So I don't know exactly where Romney's position is on that, but we need a leader who's invested in those things.
Let me ask you this: is the weak economy, are we to blame it on outsourcing? 83% of respondents, according to the Wall Street Journal, say yes, it's the culprit when it comes to why we are in the economic situation we're in. It's because nobody can work here anymore. All the jobs, you know, computer jobs, manufacturing jobs, there's nothing available.
That sounds about right.
Well, all service jobs.
They're service jobs, but there also aren't people here that are smart enough to really do some of these jobs because we haven't had an emphasis on science and math, which is why Obama has wanted to do that.
23% of college majors are down in terms of computer science because there's no jobs available.
So if we're going forward, if we're looking ahead and we're looking forward, part of the idea is to be able to manufacture the talent needed to be able to have the kind of jobs that would actually be high-paying manufacturing or high-tech kind of jobs that you find in a place like Boston.
Push back a bit on this one here. Are you saying the reason why they're manufacturing iPhones in China is because they do better in math and science?
No.
No,
I'm saying
you
that
were
it's
implying
cheaper
that-
labor there. I'm
No,
saying
you're
that,
saying that if we did better in math and science, we would attract more of those jobs. You were saying that.
no.
No. If we,
Yes,
if
yes,
we-
yes.
if
Not
we-
those
yes, yes.
jobs.
What were
we-
you
No.
saying? Give her
You're
a chance
talking
to
about
clarify.
actually the technology sector, as if that's the reason why it's gone overseas, and it's been one of pure profit.
Yeah.
It's because they could do it. That's why they did it. That's why it's been done, and because the consumer has not pushed back. We take our little
So
bribes
what's the solution,
every day.
WJ?
Fine, a
What-
consumer
I think
revolution is
we need to
fine.
have a consumer
A
revolution.
consumer revolution is fine.
Nothing
That's
less
a good
than
idea.
that.
It's
And
about
let China
boycotting.
feel us, feel actually the pressure of our not buying those phones. day
It is
after
about
day.
boycotting some products and buying American as much
That's
as
never
possible.
gonna
But I mean,
It's-
remember
I wouldn't
NAFTA?
say that. There used to be a
Remember-
lot of pride in buying American.
Yeah, but you remember
Used to.
NAFTA? Do you remember all of that
Yeah,
stuff with?
NAFTA's
Okay,
part of it as well.
Right. Well, so okay, I grew up in Ashland, Massachusetts, a small town of 10, 12,000 people. My grandfather had a garden. Every year we would eat food from the garden: radishes, lettuce, tomatoes, beans, whatever. Can it in the winter,
Sure.
eat it all year long, et cetera, et cetera. Now there's this whole back to whole foods, organic food movement. Everybody's worried about, genetically modified foods. There's a big vote coming up in another month or so. Yeah, next month in November
California, very
in California, which is huge. I mean, Monsanto owns
Where are you
us
going
pretty
with
much.
this?
Okay, I'm getting.
Are you making a short story long?
All I'm
She's
saying.
speaking chapters again, not
Go
only
ahead.
paragraphs, but a chapter.
Go ahead. We got about a minute.
Bottom line is that there is a movement toward more homegrown and organic stuff in the food realm, as well as in the potentially the
Sure.
consumer
Made in America.
realm and the made in America realm.
see
Exactly.
the pendulum swinging back in that direction.
Yes, and
Okay.
I think that
I
if
hope
we
so.
There's great promise for a consumer revolution if we tell consumers what they need to be doing. Organic works because people want to be more healthy,
Yeah.
and it is something that we can actually do. We
Right.
have the land.
They
to
But
do
feel
what
it.
do we
good
make
about.
anymore? Do we make anything?
Again, what we need to make is what the question is.
We
need to
make
be,
banana bread.
banana bread, and we
which is
make
delicious.
weapons. We make great weapons.
What's with,
We do.
I just read,
Yes.
you guys, this Bring Jobs Home Act was voted down. The bill eliminated incentives for companies to move jobs
Right.
overseas.
The lobbyists in
Republicans.
It is blocked by
Washington.
42
By
The
Republicans.
lobbyists,
Well, the
the
big
lobbyists in
money.
Washington will never
Did I read
allow
that
something
right?
like that to
I
happen.
mean,
Listen,
come on.
you got to have leadership, and again, you got to get the money out of politics in order to make that movement there.
I don't even know
Washington
how
is
Romney
in
can
deadlock
run. It's
with,
really
with
ridiculous.
lobbyists on things like
All right,
this.
all right, guys, we got to go to break. To be continued. I keep saying that. Coming up next, it is all about reverse brain drain. But wait, what's forward brain drain? We'll give you a hint. It has nothing. Thanks for laughing at my joke. It has nothing to do with playing too many video games. Stay with us. You're watching Fresh Outlook. And welcome back to Fresh Outlook. I'm TWB. Well, it's time to talk about a phenomenon known as reverse brain drain. So what exactly does it mean? Well, essentially, it refers to people who live in the U.S. that have decided to go back overseas to their country of birth or place of ancestry. The reasons? Well, here we go. Better opportunity, career advancement, higher education, and lifestyle choices. By the way, BTW, we should say they're returning in record numbers. So, guys, consider this. I want you to weigh in. Consider this statistic. More than 1.5 million Chinese left their homeland back in 1978. Dismiss, low battery. That went over my stat. How could you do that? Okay, last year, 186,000 came back. That's more than 40% than in 2010. 146,000 going back.
I mean, went back.
Went
They
back,
went back
yes.
to China.
Why is this happening? Are we losing
Because they can
talent?
buy a Ford as easily in China now than they can in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
They can actually approximate the American lifestyle there. They don't have to stay here in order to do that.
It's also because of the Patriot Act and other things that we've done with immigration since 9/11. It's a pain for them to go through the paperwork process to stay in this country. It used to be a lot
tougher to
easier
stay.
to stay here.
Okay, so are we losing our ability to attract talent abroad? I mean, is our stock down, Francesca?
Is our stock down? Sure. I mean, everybody knows that China owns the world. Brazil is, I mean, no, I'm serious. I mean, frankly, Brazil is pretty much making all the inroads
sugar
and
water
buying
in our
up
gas tank,
and
Brazil.
buying up all kinds of Florida and Miami real estate in New York as well. That's why the Olympics won the bid to go down there, and you won't see them going
Sure.
to Spain anytime soon for the same reason. So yes, I mean, America has become a country where we've become so accustomed to choice and lifestyle that we forget about the fact that you have to have something to substantiate that with at the end of the day. And as we were talking about earlier, with the loss of those manufacturing jobs and actually brick and mortar of whatever, we have less to offer to sustain ourselves
It's
with.
kind of a cool thing actually in other countries. People can actually go home for lunch What a concept.
I lived in Spain, the siesta. I mean,
They
this
have
is
so
outrageous.
much more time off. Their work days
My head
and
was
work
spinning.
years are
I mean,
totally different from ours.
The whole,
It's a
the
better
whole
life.
country,
of
the
life.
country shuts down
Takes
for
a
2
break.
hours. The whole
Smart.
country. You can't get an apple. You can't get a napkin. It's unbelievable.
Right.
Well, in Europe,
Although Spain's
and-
not our model necessarily
No,
for economy right now.
but the
do
idea
good
that
apples,
actually the American model of what a work day consists of, for example, if it's an 8-hour work day or a 9-hour work day, often is bookended in places like New York with a 1 to 2 to 3 even hour commute sometimes.
Sure.
You know, which is not the way that
Here,
it
here.
should be. Right, I know. And in other countries, along with you know, siesta or incorporating a longer vacation time.
3 times as much vacation.
Well, because no, just let me say this. It's the consumerization of America. If people don't have that month off in August to spend with their family and to reconnect and to relax, then they have more money that they can pay on therapists and on plastic surgery and on whatever it is to make themselves look better. So we create pocket industries. Yes, triple bypass, medical care. We create pocket industries with our ill health because of the way that the American system is. And so nobody wants it to really go away because there's too many others that are profiting from that at the end of the day. Whereas in Europe, they're less concerned about that. They are more in tune with what the actual family is about. And as we continue to see here,
Well, with me,
it's
we're
also-
never off. We're always
honestly,
at work.
though, it's
I mean,
also the emergence of the BRIC nations, Brazil, Russia, China, India. Those nations are making tremendous progress for a wide range of reasons. So it's not just that we're a little bit more stagnant, but that other countries are catching up and developing.
And the reality is we're not the only fish in the sea any longer.
That's right.
And it's a whole new day dawning.
That's right.
And we need to actually pay that kind of respect to other countries and to really be partners with them moving forward.
a lot of upscale African Americans are going back to South Africa.
Yeah.
6 of the world's 10 fastest growing economies between 2001 and 2010 were in Africa, according to the International Monetary Fund. I didn't know that.
Well, Nigeria, which has quite a bit of oil, South Africa, which is becoming a pioneer in the business world. Again, see, America didn't have that far to go in terms of the metrics of development around the world. There are lots of countries that were, you know, coming from the bottom up.
they leapfrog.
Africa is the continent of the 21st century.
Absolutely.
Sure,
It will be.
Resource rich, large, huge populations, and that's why China's buying up as much of Africa.
And grabbing
Well, we
back
have
enough
incentives,
power and
though.
control
Angola
from
is owned by China,
Much
pretty
of it
much.
is,
I
yeah.
mean, a lot of their building infrastructure that they can't afford to build themselves, and that they're allowing the Chinese to come in and do that for them.
Right. I mean, these incentive plans, like China has, the 1,000 Talents plan, they offer top scientists and high-tech entrepreneurs $150,000 in cash, lab space, free office, housing allowances, you name it.
Should America
to stay
feel
there?
threatened?
Should we do
Should
that?
America feel threatened by that sort of intrusion by China?
What we
China right
need
now?
to do is we need to compete, and the way that you compete is so for a long
Through
time.
incentives? Should we have incentives?
Yes,
Do you
because
think
for a
we
long
get
time-
it? Do we get it in this
not,
country?
Not quite
We
yet,
don't really
because
get
for
it.
such a long time, Europe and America underdeveloped nations that they colonized so that they could rob them of their resources. That's a terrible model right now for
Bad
the way
model.
to work in the globe.
Sure.
The way it needs to work now is through incentives, through development. You actually have to develop and work with these countries. There are countries in our immediate vicinity that we need to develop and create better partnerships with. But we're you know, that it takes it's a very huge ideological change in terms of capitalism and global capitalism, and we're still working.
Let me ask
through
you
that.
this. Are there any positives we see in reverse drain? Maybe sort of a bridge between us and other cultures?
Well, I would say-
taking what they've learned here, spreading it abroad? And what do you think?
I was going to share about actually being, I'm half Irish and half Belgian.
Which half?
Well, the O'Reilly half is obviously Irish. My mother's from Belgium. But in Ireland, where everyone, the young were leaving the country from the potato famine on, basically coming here for the most part, or going anywhere around the world to really to get something started. Now they've been returning to Ireland or staying there, not leaving at all, and they developed actually the fastest growing economy in Europe. They're having a bit of a hard time right now, but
They also got peace in Ireland too, which helps.
and they have peace as well. But I think
Huge.
they're an example, a positive example
Yes.
of that kind of return to the homeland. I feel good about it.
You do feel good about
Yes,
that.
I do.
So how do we stay competitive? I mean, losing talent, people don't want to come here anymore. The ones that are here are leaving.
4 little words, jobs. But the question is what are we going to be giving people jobs for, and who's going to be creating those jobs? Private sector
Let me
jobs.
ask you this. Is the U.S. no longer the #1 place to study? Do people not want to come here?
No, it
Oh,
is
it's
the
still
number
the
one.
It is
most
the
definitely
#1.
the
Okay.
By a
All right.
mile.
Yeah,
With
by
that,
far.
we got to take a break. Sorry, I'm just the messenger. When we come back, we're going to be discussing the influence pop culture has at the polls, celebrity endorsements, viral videos on YouTube. Can any of it really sway your vote? That's next. You're watching Fresh Outlook.
We're definitely still #1 in education.